Thanks very much, Greg, and welcome everyone to our topic today. So I'm going to kick straight off. There's no doubt that a high-performing bull must be structurally sound and have good temperament. But what you can't see about the bull is also just as important. Looking under the hood, looking under his hood helps you build up a fuller picture of all of the traits that he can pass on to his progeny. Traits like fertility, carcass weight, and eating quality. For more information around this, you can watch the previous webinar we ran last month based on the details on the screen. So during this webinar, Tim and I will talk through what to consider doing before, on the sale day, and after the bull sale to help you prepare carefully, choose wisely, and care for your bull once you get him home. If you've attended other webinars before, Tim and I will run this webinar just a little bit differently to what you may be used to. Given the practical nature of today's topic, how to shop for a high-performing bull, we thought we'd demonstrate the steps involved before, on the sale day, and after the sale. To do this, Tim will stand in as a cattle producer from near Roma who's contemplating buying his next bull. I'll act as Tim's guide, posing questions to him along the way as he's narrowing down his selection. So Tim, today for the purpose of this demonstration, can you please tell us about your operation?
Good afternoon, everyone. So the operation's just under an hour northeast of Roma, a mix of country, but predominantly poplar box and brigalow. So we breed on the poplar box country and fatten on the brigalow Balar. Generally join around 500 females, predominantly Santa Gertrudis, and keep replacements out of that. And we use Angus bulls to put over heifers. Calving occurs over a 9-week period commencing in early October and through to the first week of December, and generally wean in May, but yeah, depending on the seasonal conditions, happy enough to go earlier for weaning. Generally turn off that 28 to 30-month-old steer at 620 odd kilos, and with the cull heifers, generally keep them for 12 months post weaning and sell them into the feedlot.
Thanks, Tim. As you'll see during this section, homework is key to shopping for a high-performing bull. The majority of the work happens before the sale day in your office. So we'll jump right into it. The first step is to identify or reassess your breeding objective. A high-performing bull is one who'll meet your breeding objective, so it's important to make sure you know what that is. So Tim, what's your breeding objective and why is it your breeding objective?
So over the next 5 years, I've got two main objectives. The first one is to increase the weaning percentage by 5 percentage points. So go from 80% up to 85% over my 9-week join. And the other one is to increase that steer turn-off weight by 20 kilos of live weight at that same age, so at that 28 to 30 months of age. You know, these breeding objectives that I've got here is all about trying to improve that reproductive performance and improve that growth within the herd to improve the bottom line ultimately. And they're big profit drivers within the business, reproductive and performance as well as growth.
Thanks, Tim. So for more information about how to set a breeding objective, head over to MLA's Genetics Hub and watch the video on how to set a breeding objective. So the second step is to identify or reassess the relevant indexes. Work out what selection index aligns to your breeding objective and your production system. So Tim, what selection index aligns to your breeding objective and your production system, and where did you find this information?
So I predominantly use Santa Gertrudis bulls within the herd, and yeah, very fortunate within the Santas to have two selection indexes available, both the domestic index as well as the export index. I focus on the export index because it really perfectly aligns with what I'm trying to do, that 620 odd kilo steer at 28 to 30 months of age. And also we're retaining daughters within the herd for breeding. Where did I go and find further information about the indexes? So on the Breedplan website, either in technical tab or when we go into the database search tab, I can show people where I've found it. Like down the bottom of the min-max table, we've got a description of EBVs and selection indexes. So that's another spot to look it up.
Very good. So again, for more information, there's a video on what are beef indexes on MLA's Genetics Hub. So step 3 is to identify and reassess the relevant breeding values. Knowing your breeding objective helps you narrow down the estimated breeding values or traits that closely align to it. So Tim, what are the EBV traits that closely align to your breeding objective?
So the two main ones are 600-day weight as well as days to calving. They're my two ones of importance. But I also heavily consider 400-day weight, scrotal size, fats, and also IMF, trying to get a lot of cattle into MSA as well. And I also want to keep a bit of a check on mature cow weight. So I'll put that into my criteria when searching online.
Very good, thanks Tim. And again, for more information, head to MLA's Genetics Hub, and we have a video there on what are estimated breeding values. So the fourth step is to find sires that match your desired indexes and breeding values. View the printed sale catalogues by the stud or the online Breedplan databases to find sires that match your desired index and breeding values. So we're going to start a demo here. If you're not watching the live session, there are slides at the end provided for you to have a look at to follow along. And Tim's going to show us how he searches. So Tim, how do you find sires that match your desired index and breeding values?
Okay, so I'm going to go through the process, exactly what I go through when searching for bulls. So in this particular year, I'm chasing Santa Gertrudis bulls to go over my females, my mature cows, to produce replacement heifers as well as turn-off steers for my target market. So the first thing I do is just Google Breedplan. And so what we'll come up with here is the home page. And we want to go up in the top, in the middle, and find database search. Okay, so when we go into database search, what we do, we want to come down to the particular breed of interest. So in this particular case, I'm looking at the Santa Gertrudis Breeders Association. So I'll go and click on Santa Gertrudis Breeders there, and this is where it'll bring me. So this is pretty much the outline or the template across all the different breeds, within Breedplan, to go and look up whether or not it's across the database, whether or not it's a particular cohort of animals from the stud. Go and look in sale catalogue. So, today we're going to have a look at an individual sale catalogue, but for future reference, you can go and press in the actual name of the bull you're looking up in the top there. You can go and press in their ID. You can also go and look right across the database. So if you wanted to go and say selective male and put in all the 2017 male calves, you can go and search there. Also, a couple of other things you might want to go and have a look at would be the semen catalogues, if some are available. But what we're going to focus on here is sale catalogues. So let's click on sale catalogues. Okay, so for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to have a look at a previously conducted sale. So I'm going to go to view completed sale catalogues. So for this particular example, I'm going to have a look at a sale that was run last year in September, the 2018 Rosevale sale. And what we can see here is that there's 109 lots available in this sale. So to actually go and have a look at these 109 lots and commence the search sort function, we go and click on the sale, click left on there. Okay, so the next step from here is we want to go up into the top left corner and we want to search sort the catalogue. That's the main tab we're trying to find. So we've got 109 bulls available. How do I want to narrow that focus down to find bulls that are suitable for my breeding objectives? So I go and click on search sort catalogue. Okay, from here I want to scroll down to this particular table. So this table here is really pivotal or essential, when searching and sorting a catalogue, and same with searching across the database. So what are the main functions or features of this table? We've got all the traits down here on the left. We've got the breed average over here on the right. And then we've got the minimum and maximum table columns. So when we want a particular figure, you know, more positive than something, we go and put that figure in the minimum column. But when we want to put an upper limit or a cap on the EBV, so actually a more negative figure is favourable, we go and put that EBV in the maximum column. Earlier I mentioned about, you know, the indexes and how I looked at, you know, what one was the most suitable for me. This is where you can have a look at their description of EBVs and indexes. So all of these EBVs over here, that's where you can go and click to find out more information. Okay, so we've got the breed average over here on the right, but we also want to be able to look at bulls that are higher than breed average. Like what kind of EBVs are they for you know, bulls in the top 25% or top 10%? So if I go and click on that little tab there, what we come up with is an EBV percentile band table. Okay, so this table, we've got the percentile bands over here on the left, and then we've got the traits up here running horizontally. And so, for example, if we wanted to put some more pressure on and say, I want a, you know, EBVs in the top 25% for 600-day weight, I come to top 25%, come across to 600-day weight, and I would be putting in plus 30 in the minimum column. And same with something like days to calving. If I want a top 25% days to calving, I come across, here's days to calving. I want to put that minus 2.2 in the maximum column because I actually want more negative than that. So that percentile band table is a really powerful one, and you can keep that as a kind of separate tab on your computer or go and print that out so you can easily refer to it. Well, let's go back to this table. So the first search I want to do out of these 109 bulls are in relation to those key things for my business. So the first one we spoke about was the export index. So what I want to do is say to myself, okay, I want to see bulls that are better than breed average for export index. So I simply go and press in 17 in the minimum column. The next place we wanted to go for traits of importance was 600-day weight. So we've said the breed average over here on the right is 23. So I simply go and put 23 in the minimum column. Also days to calving. Now a reminder, we wanted that in the maximum column to put that upper limit because a more negative figure for days to calving is actually favourable. So again, we'll just put the breed average in there at 0.2. So if I now go and press search, this is going to take those 109 bulls back to simply the bulls that have these EBVs that we've specified. So let's go and press on search and see how many bulls we come up with. Okay, so if we have a look up in the top left corner here, we've got 1 of 15 of 71. So out of 109 bulls, we've actually got 71 bulls that have come up with those EBVs. So better than average 600-day, days to calving, as well as better than average export index. So we've actually got heaps of options within this sale and heaps of bulls that will align with our breeding objectives. So that's a really positive thing that we've come along to the right sale that are going to fit the breeding objectives. Okay, so we want to actually get a bit more intensified or narrow down that selection. So increase that selection pressure. So if we come back now and say to ourselves, rightio, let's ramp up those three main things up to the top 25%. So if I come down to the export index, so I've got my little percentile band table printed off in front of me. And so now actually for the top 25% for export index, it's actually 23 or better than that. For 600-day weight, I want to put in 30. And for days to calving, I want to change that to minus 2.2. Okay. Earlier on when Clara was asking me about what other traits I consider, so I also want to put in some parameters in around that top 40%, and then I'll put a couple of traits that are about breed average. So, you know, 400-day weight is still important in the system. As I said, I'm trying to get some MSA bullocks happening, which will be great. So if I go and put in top 40% for 400 day, that's plus 19. I also want to do top 40% for scrotal size. So that's 1.0. I'm going to do an upper limit for mature cow weight, which I will put in here at 50. And then what also I'm going to put in there, I'm going to put breed average just for rib fat and rump fat. So I come over to the breed average and put 0.2 and minus 0.2. Please take note that I'm not putting a plus symbol in front of the ones. I'm only putting a negative figure in front of the negative ones. And also IMF, so intramuscular fat or marbling, I want breed average. So just to clarify that, I've gone top 25% for JAPOX, for export index, for 600 day weight, for days to calving. I also want top 40th percentile for 400 day weight, for scrotal size, and then I just want breed average for fats and IMF. And I've also put an upper limit there on mature cow weight. So what we're going to do now is press search. Okay, so we've got 15 there. Okay, so if I go back and just change that mature cow weight out of interest to plus 54, just bump it up a little bit, it will go and change that list of animals that come up. So depending on how you actually, input that information and how intense you go, that'll bring up different options. Now, one thing that I want to point out here to you is those animals were just coming up in order of lot number there. But if I actually want them to come up in their ranking from the best export index down to the worst, over in the bottom left of the table, we go and say sort by export index. Okay, so if I go and press search now, it'll bring up these 17 bulls in order from best export index down to the worst with all those other criteria. So we can see here we've got 17 bulls that are ticking the boxes for what traits we put in. I now want to show you how to look up an individual animal, look up dam data and the EBV percentile graph. So let's go and click on this top bull here, Rosevale, Nairobi, N110. Okay, so this is the information about the bull. We've got all the birth date, we've got all the pedigree sitting there. But down here, what we're really trying to look at is to say, well, we want to compare this bull's EBVs, which are here in white, versus the breed average down here for the 2017 born calves. Okay, so we're comparing the white line with that green line there. And then what we've got in the middle here is the accuracy attached to each of those EBVs. Something else to point out is traits observed. So traits observed is actually the measurements taken on this particular animal themselves. So this bull has been recorded for 2, 4, 600 day weight, scrotal size, carcass traits, percent normal sperm, and flight time. So this animal is a very highly recorded animal, and that flows through to the EBVs and helps with accuracy. Okay, so if we want to go and find, we can see here that EMA, for example, is much higher than the breed average. But if you wanted to say, well, how much higher is it? Does it put him in the top 10% or 20%? We can actually click on that little percentile table, and that's where it comes up again. Now, instead of just keep going back and forward doing that, let's simplify the process. And we actually do that by clicking on this little green, blue, and red little figure over here. So if we go and click on that, it's actually going to bring up the EBV percentile graph for this bull. So a couple of things to note about this particular graph. What we've got down on the left is all the different traits. We've got the breed average sitting here in the middle. And then what we've got down the bottom is we've got the different percentile bands. So we've actually got the most favorable up the top, over on the right, through to the worst over on the left. So as a quick observation, what we've got here is we've got the different, we've got the green for growth, we've got red for fertility, light blue for carcass, pink or purple, whatever you want to call it, for indexes, and then dark blues for other. So that's flight time in this instance. So you can see that this bull, at a quick glance, is in the top 10% of the breed for growth, fertility, carcass, index. This bull's ticking a lot of boxes, kicking a lot of goals. But we've already told the system that's the kind of genetics that we're looking for. But he's the top bull based on index. Now, a couple of things to consider. Think about your country type and your stance on mature cow weight as well as milk. They might be two traits there that you want those bars to be back a little bit more to the middle or to the left, depending on if you're on harsher country and if you're not turning off that sappy weaner straight off mum, but going through to export, that milk can be back there. But otherwise, this bull's stacking up very well. So I want to also show you what dam data can be found online. So we can see here the dam of the bull we're interested in is Rosevale Classic G417. So let's go and click on the mother. Now, once we bring the mother up, which is just taking a second, that's all good. I'll try it again. When we bring the mother up here, we want to have a look at when the mother was born herself. So she was born 6th of October 2010. And this is where we want to go and click, where it says Progeny 7 View. So remembering October 10 was when the mother was born herself. If we go and click on here, okay, and then we go and have a look at these birth dates in this column here. So this particular mother actually calved as a 2-year-old, and you can see that she's been on the money 7 years in a row, calving in September, October. That's what we want to be able to see. We want to buy bulls out of cows that have got really good reproductive performance. Now, if you start jumping online and start looking up some of this damn data, and you notice something funny going on where, there's the 2013 calf missing and this one's missing, if something doesn't stack up and you have an inquiry, jump straight onto the producer and just ask the question. Say, I'm keen on these bulls, but I'm interested to see what's happened with this dam data, and just ask the question. Is that about everything you want covered, Clara?
Yeah, no, that's very good, Tim, and it's really great that you can take a sale of 100 bulls down to a shorter number to work with.
But we've gone pretty hard there, really.
Yes. So thank you very much for doing a demo, Tim. It's really great to show that to everyone. We'll go back to the presentation now. If you want to learn more about or need to look at more about how to search through those Breedplan databases, there are web tutorials and videos now available on the Genetics Hub as well. So that dam data, Tim, is a really good point because that leads into our next step. So the 5th step is to contact the stud. You mentioned you were looking at the female's reproductive history, but what other questions will you ask the stud about the bulls that you're interested in? So
I'm pretty keen to ask a lot of questions of seed stock producers and really find out, where are they headed? What are their breeding objectives? So what traits have they placed of importance within their own operation? Understand how long they're joining their females for. Are they putting 6 to 9 weeks of pressure, or are they joining for 4 months or longer? Understand also about how are they culling their females. Like every female that comes up empty, are they culling them straight away? And same with the bulls. Are they culling bulls out at 7-year-old, or are they leaving a bit longer within the herd? I want to get all the semen information. I want to get bull check certificates to make an assessment of risk, and I want morphology to be included on there as well. So just asking them to send through that information so I can make a more informed decision when buying bulls. I also want to understand their vaccination programs. Are they giving their boosters, or are they only given 1 shot prior to the sale? Think about some of their biosecurity measures or protocols in place as well. And if I was a commercial producer sitting over in WA, obviously you've got to think about that JBAS 7 or 8 status as well. So yeah, not afraid to ask the tough question. We want to support those seed stock producers that can tick all the boxes and the things you're asking for.
Thanks, Tim. So the sixth step is to develop a list of top tier and second tier sires that meet your breeding objective. Shortlist sires to view on sale day by using the index and the breeding values. So Tim, what are the top tier sires on your list, and at what point do sires become second tier sires?
Yeah, so the top tier sires, tick all the boxes right across the board. They've stacked up in those percentile bands that I want them to be. And as they kind of drop down in the second tier, and when you start exploring that dam data, you'll see that I've crossed a few off there. So their mothers actually, dropped out of the system relatively early in their career. So they've actually been knocked off the list there. But those second tier bulls there, you can say to yourself, well, I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of a particular trait. So maybe EMA, for example.
Yeah, very good. So always having a second tier group in case the sires on your priority list that you've identified aren't structurally sound or sell above your budgeted price. So giving yourself some secondary options. So the last step before you head to the bull sale is to decide on your budget. Tim, what's your bull budget and how did you work that out?
Yeah, so obviously this is going to be an individual thing, and sitting down with those involved with the business and seeing where you're sitting financially, and depending on what's happening at the time, like cull bulls at the moment are in the vicinity of a couple of $1,000, so you can easily get rid of those ones that aren't doing the job and upgrade and use that money to upgrade. But having a bit of you might recognize this kind of process, recently within the Genetics Central through Beef Central, Alistair Rayner spoke about this particular section or this particular topic about budgeting. So, thinking about where the average sales have been of late, obviously you could turn up on the day and yeah, there could be a couple of big buyers there with big checkbooks, and next thing that average starts to bump up a couple of $1,000. So you've just got to really try and think about the genetic merit of those bulls and assigning a bit of a indicative value or that break-even point to those bulls with better genetic merit. So what I do normally is just have a look at the average for the export index. In this particular case for Santa's is $17, and then go through each of those bulls that are on my list and look at their export index. So a bull in the top 10% plus $33. So to do the calculations, we actually want to look at the index for your bull of interest versus that breed average. So the $33 minus the 17 gives you $16. And when we start, going through the process here, because we're only looking at half the equation and the sire only contributing half the genetics, we actually want to divide that $16 by 2. And with indexes, we're actually looking at that net profit per cow joined. So over the course of the life of these bulls within your operation, if you said 40 cows to one bull, so 2.5%, and you use this bull for 5 years, this bull's getting used over 200 females, and 200 females times that $8 is $1,600. So it's a bit of an indicative value to say, well, that bull relative to a breed average is kind of that $7,600 versus a $6,000 average. But you've just got to think about your particular situation. If you had a bull there at plus $18, so only just above the average, you do those calculations again. You say 18 minus 17 is 1, divided by 2 is 50 cents. 50 cents by 200 females over their life, is $100. And so relative to that average of 6,000 is kind of $6,100. So, you could be prepared to put that extra bid in for the bull with the higher export index. And, if you can pick the bull up for less than $1,600 versus an average index bull, well, yeah, you're winning.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. So individual circumstances might be different and what the average of the sale might be. However, establishing a value helps you decide when to stop and where there are other good merit bulls further down in the draft of the sales. So yep, definitely. So as you've seen, there's a fair bit of work to do before the sale day, but this helps you be more focused on the day. So now let's look at what needs to happen on the big day of the sale. There are 3 main steps that we're going to cover. So the first one, and one of the most important, is when you get to the sale, find your shortlisted bulls and visually appraise them. Having your shortlist already done will really cut down your legwork on the sale day, so you only need to look at the bulls that make your cut. Cross off the sires on your shortlist that don't meet your structural and temperament assessments. So at the sale, Tim, what did you visually assess the bulls for?
Okay, so I'm going there focused on the day because it's quite easy to get distracted with a hamburger and a mate you haven't seen for a while. So, you know, I've got my shortlisted bulls and I'm going back and forwards with those 15 bulls, for example. And so I'm going there with that list, and the first thing I'll have a look at or make an assessment on would be temperament. Now, a few different people, you know, some might say temperament equals X, and others might say I'm happy to live with this temperament or I'm not happy to do with that. So that's a personal preference, but you know, anything that's really nervous, jumping over the rails, yeah, it doesn't like you being around them, you'd have to put a cross through them or question mark depending on your situation. But the structural stuff is not, you know, the basics haven't changed. These bulls have got to be able to go out and do the job to be able to, you know, serve your 40 cows within a short time period and do it for 5 odd years. So I'm, you know, working from the bottom up, looking at their feet, seeing whether or not, yeah, scissor claws, cracks in there, whether it be vertical or horizontal, you know, the interdigital fibroma, like that growth in between the claws there, looking at their legs. Are they, yeah, straight as a strainer post? Like, are they posty-legged? Are they sickle-hocked? Having a look to see if they're cow-hocked or bow-legged. Coming down, coming up to the sheath, having a look at the sheath depth and sheath angle and making an assessment on that. Hopefully you would have seen the raw scrotal size prior to the day, but yeah, having a look at any lumps and bumps associated with scrotal size, and yeah, having a look further up and checking out their eyes and making sure they respond on both sides and they're not weeping, etc. But yeah, simply just put a cross against those ones. Like, you've come here with bulls that you've assessed the semen data, you've assessed all the EBVs, but if they're not stacking up structurally, well, you don't want to take them home.
All right, so the second step will be make a quick plan on the order in which you'll make your bids. So, Tim, what would your plan be?
So, in a helmsman system, it's a hell of a lot easier because all the bulls are available at once, and you can really drill down to say, well, I'm keen on that lot 37. I can, well, but I'll only go to X amount on lot 28. So, yeah, that makes it a lot easier. But a lot of the sales aren't like that. So you've really just got to have your top, your second tier, and even maybe a third tier already there, right in front of you. You've got all your comments made beside, so you can make that informed decision as it's, you know, quickly happening within the sale. Thinking about those price differentials, as we spoke about, whether or not it's kind of $1,500 more than the average, or these top tier ones, I can afford to go up kind of $3,000 more. You know, if that's what I'm really looking for in those bulls.
Thanks, Tim. So the third step and the most exciting is bid on the sires on your shortlist that meet your physical assessments, your budget, and everything else you've done prior to the sale. So, Tim, how did you go at the sale? Did you secure sires on your top or second tier list?
Yeah, I got pretty lucky actually. I managed to pick up one top tier sire and yeah, actually I got both of the second tier sires there and didn't have to pay as much money as I thought.
So now that you've bought the right bull, one who meets your breeding objective, your physical assessment and your budget, it's now time to make sure you protect your investment. There are 5 steps to ensuring this. So the first step is to practice sound biosecurity. Straight off the truck, treat your new bull according to your own biosecurity plan. So, Tim, when you get your new sires home, what biosecurity did you practice?
Well, the first thing I've done before those bulls get on the truck is I've actually gone through and insured my bulls, you know, at least for the first year with full loss of use, and it's up to the individual to see what they decide to do after that. But yeah, biosecurity measures, thinking about when that bull arrives at home, not just throwing him out with the cows and not just throwing him out in any paddock. We've got some quarantine paddocks close to the house, and yeah, depending on where you are, think about that parasite control as well.
So secondly, document appropriate records, including at minimum your bull's tag number provided by the stud and animal movement records. But Tim, what else did you document about your bulls?
Yeah, so talking to other neighbours and talking to people all around, it's amazing how many bulls just get home and they just go straight out in the paddock and never to be seen, or they don't have a tag in them, whatever. So I really make a conscious effort to document stuff as soon as they arrive home. So I've got their bull ID, their brand, their visual ID, the NILS tag there. I've noted down the bull's birth date, also where we've bought the bull from and what money we paid for them. I've got a copy of the bull check certificate with the bull, so I've scanned that into the system. And I also, will document that EBV percentile graph for the bulls that I've bought as well. So you can either print that out and put it into a folder or file it electronically there.
Okay, so the third step is to help your new bull settle in. So allow 6 to 8 weeks for your new bull to de-stress before joining. Check on him frequently in these first few weeks and ensure he's at a condition score of 3.5 at the point of joining. So Tim, how did you help your bulls settle in and prepare them for joining?
Yeah, so got those bulls home and kept them by themselves, just those 3 bulls separately for a few weeks there, just making sure they've got some mates, and then going in with the other bulls, in the bull paddock there. But it really comes down to making sure they've got good feed in front of them. Like if you go and buy in August, September, and then you're joining at the end of December, where they're going to get a rude shock if they're in good condition when they get home, but next thing they go into a paddock with bugger all grass. Well, we don't want that body condition score dropping down rapidly. It's not good for anyone. It's not good for semen quality. So as long as they're in a grassed up paddock, and if required, you might need to give them a little bit of supplement like a protein meal, for example.
So the fourth step is to confirm your bull is in working order. Confirming your sire is working once joining commences is important, as things can happen between when he arrives and when he goes out with the cows on how well he can serve. So Tim, this may be a strange question, but how do you confirm your bull is working?
I feel very dodgy doing it, but earlier on in the joining period, going down to the water points or out to the lick trough and observing those bulls, with cycling females there. So I'll stand on the offside or the right-hand side of the animals, because, with things like corkscrew penis, like one of the penile abnormalities, they always go out to that offside. So, if I identify that, I want to make sure I get that bull out of the system and go and replace him with something more suitable as soon as I can.
So lastly, conducting annual animal health treatments and bull check on your whole bull team prior to joining. So Tim, just talk us through what ongoing treatments you give your bulls.
Yeah, so every bull undertakes a bull check every single year prior to going out, and then annual vaccinations, Vibrio 3-day and 7-in-1 for our operation down there in Roma.
Thank you very much, Tim, for walking through those steps with us today and putting your producer hat on. So just to summarise, before the sale, create a short list of high-performing bulls using objective selection. And then on the sale day, choose bulls from your short list that meet your physical assessments and your budget. And then after the sale day, it's important to care for your bull once he's home to ensure he's fit and healthy to perform. So MLA's new genetics hub contains all of the resources mentioned on shopping for a high-performing bull, including a video which will take you through the steps Tim and I have just walked through today. To visit those, you can go to genetics.mla.com.au tropical for tropical breeds and /temperate for temperate breeds.
Yeah, so just to put it out there, so my role as a technical officer with TBTS is to try and drive adoption of Breedplan and also other genetic technologies in Northern Australia. So in my role, I'm working with both commercial producers and seed stock producers, just helping them through the process. I'm available on phone, email, and more than happy to come out. But yeah, my service is available there for free. It's really about, you know, taking you guys through that step-by-step process. Today we've just covered the surface there, but they're those key kind of points. So if you are looking to refine your bull buying within your operation, or further want to understand, you know, Breedplan and EBVs and how they can help your business, please feel free to reach out. I am based in Roma, but yeah, do get to both Territory and WA and right across Queensland. And with the EBVs, they're just one part of the process, as we've described. We still need the bulls to be fertile, structurally sound, good temperament, etc. So, you know, we've got a free tool within Breedplan that you can use to make an informed decision, and that's what my role is about, trying to help people understand and utilise the tools to make that really informed decision.
So thank you everybody for listening, and we'll hand it back to Greg for some questions.